Sunday afternoon, June 1st, 2025, Boulder, Colorado. A peaceful demonstration turns into a scene of terror. A man shows up with Molotov cocktails, explosives, and what authorities describe as a makeshift flamethrower. He attacks people in broad daylight with fire. He attempts a mass killing. Which brings us to today's mass shooting. Except it wasn't a shooting. There were no guns, no high-capacity magazines, no AR-15s, handguns, or so-called ghost guns. And in Boulder, a city with some of the strictest gun laws in Colorado, none of those laws made a difference. This was a real mass attack, just not with the right weapon. It wasn't a scuffle. It wasn't a crime of passion. It was planned, premeditated, designed to kill as many as possible. That's what a mass attack is. And yet, despite the carnage, the story is missing something. Not the facts. The press covered the event. What's missing is the context. The discussion that should be taking place is not. Because this is exactly what politicians promised their gun laws would prevent. That was the whole pitch. Pass these laws and people will be safe. That was the goal, wasn't it? So why isn't anyone asking why those laws failed? What counts as a mass shooting? You might be surprised. While Boulder was literally burning, gun control advocates and media outlets continued to push the narrative that there's a mass shooting every day in America. So let's take one of those days that they're counting, the very same day, June 1st. That's when there were 4 mass shootings, according to the activists. But look at the details of these events. Forget the gun definitions, just apply common sense. 3 of the 4 events happened between midnight and 1 a.m. So, although they were technically on Sunday, they were actually Saturday night. And they were not random acts of terror, not school children gunned down at recess. Rather, think of bars, parking lots, criminal grudges. One of these shootings was labeled a pool party. Yes, at 1 a.m. Actually, it was a drive-by where the intended targets returned fire. There were dozens of rounds, 8 different guns involved. None of these are mass shootings the way people think of Parkland or Uvalde. These are violent crimes, tragic, yes, but not planned attempts to massacre strangers in broad daylight. The timing, the location, and the motive, they all matter. And then there's the violent park they keep ignoring. The 4th shooting, the one that actually was on June 1st, that one happened during the evening in a public park in Ilhan Omar's district. Ilhan Omar, one of the gun grabbers. Hundreds of shots were fired. Witnesses ran for cover thinking they were being fired on by a machine gun. And here's a twist. It was the same park where another mass shooting happened not long ago. So this wasn't a peaceful community suddenly rocked by random evil. This was a known hotspot with a pattern of violence. And yet it's filed under the same label, mass shooting, just like Parkland, just like Sandy Hook, and just like King Soopers in Boulder. See the problem? So let's go back to Boulder. After the March 2021 King Soopers massacre, 10 people murdered in cold blood, the city did what progressives always say will solve the problem. They passed everything. Assault weapons bans, magazine limits, waiting periods, mandatory storage, local permitting, and background checks. Every checkbox was marked, every restriction in place, the kinds of laws that national gun control groups dream about. And yet, 3 years later, a man nearly burned a neighborhood alive using fire, not firearms. None of the laws stopped him because evil doesn't care about gun laws, because evil doesn't even need a gun. And how about when helping gets you killed? The danger isn't just being unarmed, and all of the victims of the flamethrower attack certainly were unarmed, but in some places, even stopping an attacker puts you at risk. Take Arvada, Colorado, just north of Boulder, in 2021. A man with a shotgun murdered a police officer. A legally armed citizen, Johnny Hurley, stepped in and stopped the killer before he could do more carnage. Heroic, life-saving. And then Hurley picked up the killer's AR-15 to examine it or to secure the scene, and police shot him dead. The same police who had done nothing against the actual shooter. And that's not just tragedy, that is your policy in action. That's what happens when gun culture is demonized, and anyone with a weapon, even the hero, is seen as a threat. Now imagine that same citizen had been at the Pearl Street Mall on June 1st. He sees someone lighting up a crowd with a flamethrower, people screaming, burning, diving for cover. He has the means to stop it. He has a clear shot. Does he act or does he freeze, remembering Johnny Hurley and wondering if he'll be the next one mistaken for the attacker and shot by police? This is the chilling effect of modern gun policy. It doesn't just disarm, it discourages action. It tells good people to stand down, even as the innocent burn. And then there are the attacks that don't make the cut. Not because they weren't deadly, but because they weren't useful to the narrative. In March, just months before the Boulder firebombing, 2 police officers in Boulder were intentionally rammed by a driver. It was deliberate, it was violent, and it was barely covered. Then in April in Vancouver, Washington, a man used a van to kill 11 people in another mass ramming, like the one in New Orleans on New Year's Day. No gun, no manifesto, just carnage and death. These were mass attacks in every sense of the term, but they weren't called that. They weren't added to any mass violence database, and there was no renewed push for vehicle regulation. Why? Because the weapon, however deadly, wasn't a gun. It's the tool versus the truth. Gun control activists keep waving their hands and saying, "Why does this keep happening?" Maybe the better question is, why does it only matter when it happens with a gun? Because when a man tries to torch a neighborhood, silence. When someone mows down cops with a car, nothing. When 11 die in a vehicle ramming, no policy shift. But when 4 gang members shoot each other at 12:30 a.m. behind a liquor store, mass shooting, ban everything. This isn't about safety, it's about control. Control of the weapons, control of your rights, and control of the narrative. And while they're busy counting mass shootings by injury count and political utility, the people with intent to kill are counting on the fact that no one will stop them. And what about those who could stop it? What about the citizen who might act if he weren't afraid of becoming the next Johnny Hurley? Because when the only thing that stops a killer is banned, and the people willing to intervene are punished, you're left with laws that protect nothing but headlines and the politicians.